Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Karaniya matta kusalena yantam santam padam abhisamecha sakko ujocha sujocha svacho chassa mudu anatimani. Venerable Chief Naika Hamduru, Venerable Sirs, friends in the Dhamma, welcome for our Saturday, the regular Dhamma talk. And today, as you might be well aware, that we are continuing our series of Dhamma talks based on the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Last week we explained the background of this sutta. So those who could not attend to that talk, it is better for them to listen to that talk to learn the background of this sutta with the explanation of the other Metta Sutta in the Tipitaka. Since there are two Metta Suttas, this is the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Today I am going to explain the first stanza of this sutta. Might not be the first stanza completely, but the beginning of this beautiful sutta, which we can call the spirituality of Buddhism. This sutta contains 10 verses, and these 10 verses presents in brief in the form of just the terms, just the names, but the complete structure from the beginning to the end of the spiritual practice in Buddhism. So those who are practicing in the forests, those who are serious about their practices, for them to remind the methods that they have to apply for their practice, as a constant reminding, they have to chant this sutta day in, day out, morning, evening, so that they will not be lapsed away, distracted, or gone to a wrong kind of methods. They will be absolutely on the path of the Dhamma, on the spiritual progress, without losing their tracks. So Buddha taught this sutta especially for those monks in the forest who practice seriously in the pursuit of their liberation. So, just because Metta is the title of this sutta, it doesn't confine itself only to the Metta. So, these 10 verses has 3 stages. These 3 stages are the sila, the disciplinary background, moral background, to cultivate, to develop for samadhi, serenity of the mind. Without the discipline of your words, of your actions, in your minds, serenity or concentration is hard to achieve. So it begins with the disciplinary codes of conduct, ethical modes of behavior, speech, action, and even the thoughts. And then it moves in the middle of the sutta to the concentration. But since this is Metta Sutta, that concentration is basically based on to develop Metta is the object of meditation that the Buddha introduced for them to develop their concentration upon. A learner of Buddhism usually knows that there are many objects for concentration to develop serenity, calmness. But in Buddhism, concentration is not the goal, concentration is not the aim. Concentration is the condition for panya, wisdom, to arise. So the last phase of the sutta is sacrifice, is presented the way of developing the panya, wisdom. The contents of wisdom, parts of wisdom are very clearly, but in brief words, brief sentences, they are presented to the meditator. So those who are practicing seriously in the forest are highly benefited by this sutta for the development of their practice as an assistance. So let's begin this sutta. It begins Karaniyam atta kusalena. Karaniyam atta kusalena. Karaniyam atta kusalena. Karaniyam should be done, or better to be done, ought to be done. Buddhism does not limit itself to the words, to the teachings. You should learn Dhamma, you should listen to the Dhamma, but learning itself, listening itself won't do much help, won't do much benefit for you if that Dhamma is not activating within you. Now there are 3 types of wisdom. The first type of wisdom is Suttamaya Panya, the wisdom that arises through listening. When you listen to a wise person, somebody wiser than you, somebody intelligent than you, naturally there is a certain type of wisdom arising in you. It is natural. But that wisdom doesn't transform you. that wisdom doesn't change you. It is just limited to the surface level of your mind. It is just limited to the periphery. Your inner being is not affected by that listening, by that wisdom. So, though important, Suttamaya Panya, the wisdom that arises through listening, is not transforming you. The second wisdom is Chintamaya Panya. You can think about what you listened. Thinking is another source for the wisdom to arise. But that wisdom also has its limits. It is limited to your mind. You cannot think beyond the mind. You cannot think beyond the contents of your mind, beyond the knowledges that has been stored, accumulated in your mind, is the source of your wisdom. You cannot think beyond that. And the wisdom that arises via thinking also important. But that wisdom also doesn't transform you, doesn't change your course of your consciousness, doesn't bring you out of this cycle of samsara. The third type of wisdom, bhavanamaya panya, that arises in your consciousness, which is beyond thinking, based on awareness, based on the awareness of the true nature of the world, reality of the world, as it is existing in the present moment. You observe them and you understand them via your wisdom. So when somebody learns this art of observing the world with your wisdom, with your awareness to the present moment, your wisdom grows, your wisdom develops. That wisdom is bhavanamaya panya, that the wisdom arises through awareness. Awareness or mindfulness is the source for that wisdom to arise. Buddhism arose through that wisdom. Buddhism is a byproduct of that bhavana, of that awareness. You remove this awareness, this bhavana, this meditation out of the background, you will not find Buddhism. Buddhism is a byproduct of that mindfulness, of that awareness. So Buddha's words are to be activated in this triple, in this third type of wisdom, bhavanamaya panya. Karaniya. You should do that. That's the idea. Not just for listening, not just for thinking, but to activate in your awareness, in your mindfulness, what you hear, what you learn, what you understand. Then that bhavanamaya panya, that meditative wisdom, will transform you, will change your course of consciousness away from the recurring circle of suffering, away from the sansaric circle. That's what the Buddha meant. Karaniya. Don't let it be limited just for listening, just for thinking, but for the working, activation, working upon yourself, working in your own life. Then there will be results. So the Dhamma, as long as it is limited to the books, to the words, to the thoughts, it won't give you much of the benefits. There are benefits, but not the real benefit. The real benefit happens when it is happening in your life, when it is working in your mind, when your mind is transformed with it. Then that Dhamma starts flourishing. When you are changing with the Dhamma, it starts developing, flourishing. Karaniya. And when we say Karaniya, there are things to be not to do also. Karaniya, Akaraniya. Now, when you look at the 5 precepts, each of the precepts has this same clause in the ending. It says, Veramani Sikha Padam Samadhyami. You observe Samadhyami. I observe myself. For what? Veramani. Not to engage. To disengage. Veramani. You are observing not to do it. Each of the precepts you observe, either in the 5 precepts or in the 10 precepts, doesn't matter. All of these precepts you engage not to do, or you observe to disengage. To disengage with killing, with the stealing. So, not doing is a type of doing in Buddhism. That doing is you are avoiding, you are being disengaged, you are not doing it. So, Karaniya, that means the things you have to do, things that you ought to do, has the part of the things that you shouldn't do also. Karaniya, Akaraniya. Both belong to this term Karaniya. Karaniya Atta Kusalena. The second term is Atta Kusala. Atta actually came from the term Atto. It is the procedure. A procedure for Kusala. With cleverness, with the ability, there is a procedure you have to follow on. Atta Kusala. Now, this Kusala is something that we have to explain a bit. Kusala in Pali usually translated as the ability, capability. Capability for what? Meaning also embedded in this Kusala itself. Ku indicates the defilements, the ugly, the wrong. Sala is to destroy. Destroying the wrong side, destroying the bad side, destroying the defilements indicates Kusala. Now let me explain a bit. When you observe the 10 precepts, these 10 precepts contain the 5 precepts: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants to be intoxicated. Now, if somebody break these precepts of killing, stealing, etc., what would happen to him? That person will go down to the perdition. It is not a promotion for him here and hereafter. It is a demotion. He is hellbound. He will be going towards the suffering with the break of those 5 precepts. But the rest of the precepts, for example, let's say there is a precept that people observe not to adorn themselves with the unguents, with the perfumes, with the scents, and not to enjoy those films, music, carnal, secular, sensual, music, films, etc. There's a precept: Nachcha Gita Vadita Visuka Dassana Mala Gandha Vilepana. To avoid all this stuff. Nachcha, drama, Gita, music, songs, Vadita, again music, and again Mala Gandha Vilepana, not to wear perfume, scents, unguents, to decorate yourself, to beautify yourself. So people observe these precepts on the full moon days. Now, if somebody observe these precepts other than the 5 precepts, the purpose of observing them is to make sure, even for some time, your mind to be with reality, with the truth. Your mind to be detached from those desires, from those cravings. Observing these precepts help you to destroy certain defilements within you. Kusala. Sala is to destroy. Ku, the defilements. These precepts, other than the 5 precepts in the 10 precepts, observing of them help you to reduce, to deduct, to get rid of certain energy of those defilements from you. So if somebody observe these precepts seriously and practice them, preserve them, it means that person is reducing his defilements. Kusala. Another example, adana. For Buddhists, it is something normal. The practicing of charity, generosity. But is your dana is supporting to reduce your greed or increase your greed? Is your dana, is your charity is happening with so much of expectations, aspirations related to the sansaric journey? Or is your dana is happening just to get rid of your own attachment with the pure intention of being liberated quickly, to stop this cycle of suffering? It is up to you. You can yourself understand your own intention behind your dana. Is my dana, is my generosity helping me to reduce my craving, my attachment, my tanha? Then it is a kusala. But is your dana happening with so much of expectations, secular expectations? I'm not going to name them, you can understand. Then that dana is not supporting for kusala, to destroy your craving. Then it is not a parami, and it is not a supportive factor behind your nibbana. That dana is helping only to continue the samsaric journey with bliss, with joy, with happiness, with wealth, with luxury, but not for nibbana. But if your dana is just a medicine for this ailment of craving, to heal yourself from craving, then you are getting closer to the nibbana, and also you will receive everything you are bound to receive because of your charity, or worthy of receiving because of your charity. So it is better we make sure we always, whenever you share something you have with others, whenever you do dana, make sure it is a cure for this sickness of craving, to reduce this sickness of craving, to get rid of this attachment a bit. Then that dana is your parami. Bodhisattvas, when they do dana, it is not for the heavenly bliss or any other secular aspiration that they have in their hearts when they do dana. It is only for nibbana. It is only to get rid of their own attachment. And they don't care about the receivers. Whoever receive, they may receive. It is for my sake. It is to deal with my own attachment I am giving. They don't care what kind of meritorious energy they gain out of it. The receiver doesn't matter to them. What matters is they are reducing, getting rid of their attachment. And this attachment is a sickness, a cause for sickness. What is the sickness? Suffering. We suffer because of attachment. Their dana is a cure for that attachment. Then that dana is called a parami, a perfection, which will help them, enable them, strengthen them to get rid of the cycle of suffering. That dana is a kusala, destruction of the defilements. Kusala. So one has to be clever, one has to be capable or able to destroy this inner tendency to continue the samsara. What is this inner tendency? They are our own greed, hatred, delusion, and all sorts of other defilements. Karaniyang atta kusalena, your own well-being, atta. The procedure for this own well-being, you have to go with your ability, kusalena. And that ability come back to destroy your own defilements within. Kusala. Karaniya Matta Kusalena Yantang Santang Padang Abhisamicca. Tang Santam Padam Santapada. The state of serenity, the state of peace, the state of calmness. This is an umbrella term. State of serenity can be anything. But in this sutta and in the Buddha's vision, the state of serenity is only the Nibbana. Our consciousness, our inner being, attains the serenity when there is no craving. As long as there is craving, we are in a turbulent. Only when the turbulent is less, we think we are serene, we are calm, we are peaceful. But it is just the absence of the turbulence. The turbulence is there. Craving is there. As long as there is craving in us, we are never at peace. We are never at calm or serenity. Only when the craving is gone, that serenity will be there. Once, a professor of philosophy tried to explain what is craving. He gave an example. I give you a pen. That pen is the Mount Everest. And I'll give you ink for the pen. The ink is provided by all these oceans, seas in the world. Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, and all those seas in the world will provide you the ink necessary for this pen. And I'll give you a book. That book is this endless, infinite sky. Now you may start. From wherever possible, from wherever you like, you start to write. With the Mount Everest pen, with the ink provided by the oceans, in the book of space, you write what you desire, what you want. One after the other, you write. Then this professor says, your pen will be eliminated little by little. That Mount Everest will be eliminated. And these oceans will be dried up, you will be out of ink. And even this infinite sky will be over. But you will have still one more desire to write. Desires are like that. Never ends. No matter how much you gain, there will be one more. Something there. One more you haven't got. You are desiring. This is the nature of desire. That desire will never keep you at peace. No matter what you get, you are never quenched. You are never at serenity, at peace. The serenity arises only when this desire is gone. So, Santang Padang in the Buddha's eyes is another term for Nibbana. And Nibbana is a state that you receive when the craving is gone. Hence, Buddha says, Tanhakhayo Nirodho Nibbana. Tanha Khayo, the destruction of Tanha. Nirodho, complete getting rid of that Tanha is Nibbana, Nirvana. Nirvana is nothing but getting rid of that very craving in our hearts, in our being, in our consciousness. And that is the time we achieve the state, padang, state of santang, serenity, state of serenity. Karaniya matta kusalen yantang santang padang abhisamicca. If somebody aspires, deeply long for this state of serenity, he has to activate, he has to work hard himself and enter into the path of that serenity. Abhisamicca, 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 abhi. I think you may have heard about this. Abhidhamma, the deep Dhamma. So, abhisang-icca. Sang is just to complement icca. Icca means longing. Abhisang-icca means deeply longing. It is not just a lucrative, it is not just a simple longing. Deeply longing for that santam padang, for that state of serenity. You are bound to work on a path which is leading to that state of serenity. Because just longing, aspiring of Nibbana is not enough to gain it. As traditional Buddhists, we usually, especially when somebody is dead, we aspire him to attain Nibbana. And we ourselves aspire, long, wish to attain Nibbana. But we have to remember, just aspiration on the Nibbana is not enough for that achievement. You have to work hard on it. You have to develop within yourselves the necessary background to achieve it. Yeah. Then when you are continuously cultivating within yourselves the necessary psychological background for the Nibbana, likes attract the likes. That psychological background, psychological support within ourselves will drive us, will bring us to the presence of a Buddha, or the Buddha will find us. How many thousands of people listened to the Buddha, came across the Buddha? Some even just ignored the Buddha. Some rejected the Buddha. When we read the suttas, we can find there are people in the middle of the sutta. They say, we have so much of duties at home. I have a lot of jobs to do today. A lot of errands to run. Please let me go. I have to leave you now. I cannot continue to listen to you. And they have no idea what did they miss. They missed a golden opportunity to get rid of the cycle of suffering. And they must be still moving from one physical body to another. The reason is simple. They were not ready for the Buddha. Our practice is nothing but getting ready for the Buddha. When the Buddha calls us, we are ready. We are ready to let go of this secular lifestyle, secular expectations, secular aspirations, because we have a deep longing, deep aspiration for the Nibbana, abhisangicca, abhisamicca. That deep longing must be developed for the Nibbana. That deep longing will also help us to practice here and now. And only a very rarely we can find people who have that deep longing for the practice. Because their concern is basically based on the secular objects, secular worries, secular troubles. Until they die, nothing but secular aspirations they are overwhelmed with. Such people, when they even find a Buddha, they will be still worrying about the secular objects, though they time to time think about attaining Nibbana. They are overwhelmed with the secular objectives. So just longing for the Nibbana won't help. You have to commit yourself for the Nibbana. For that you have to develop a deep aspiration for the Nibbana. Abhisamecca represents that longing. And that longing for the Nibbana will make you dislike towards the secular goals also. You cannot have the both, either spiritual wealth or the material wealth. Material wealth is useful for you to live this life comfortably, without bothering others, to depend yourself. They are just for the comfortable living, but they are not your goal. They shouldn't be your goal. If those material wealth, material goals are your aim, then you cannot have that deep longing for the Nibbana. You are not abhisamecca. You are not longing deeply, because you have in a corner of your mind those material goals. Naturally, those who practice in the forest, sacrificing their physical well-being for the spiritual well-being, with little concern or no concern at all for the spiritual, for the physical or material well-being, they have this deep longing towards Nibbana. There was a group of monks, 3 monks. They went to practice, and there was a nearby village. Those villagers were supporting them, and they were practicing. And after some time they found, unknowingly they have created a certain bondage, certain friendship, certain connection with the villagers while they were going on their arms around, while they are creating some contacts. Unknowingly they have created some connection with them, and this connection is a hindrance for their progress. for their nibbana, for their development in the spirituality. And they decided this is not right. This doesn't work. We better cut off this connection. If we are worrying about our physical well-being, feeding ourselves, the food we eat, if we are worrying about these material necessities, we will lose the opportunity for our nibbana. So better get rid of these material longing, desire immediately. And they decided to take extreme measures. There was a nearby mountain, a boulder, a rock mountain. To climb up, you need a ladder. Without ladder, you cannot come down. They made a ladder and climbed to the mountain top. And then they pushed that ladder back. Now, without achieving a spiritual stage on the supramundane path, they cannot come down. So they start practicing, keeping their lives at risk, without considering at all about the physical well-being. They start practicing with a deep longing in their hearts for the nibbana. They start practicing. One of them, on the third day, became an anagami, non-returner. And he flew in the sky to the village, and he found food and came back. He wanted to offer certain portion of food for these two friends, his fellow practitioners, but they rejected. You enjoy your spiritual development. Let us take care of our development. And they start practicing. They continue practicing. And another monk attained to the once returner stage. He too flew in the sky, went to the nearby village and found his alms food with his psychic powers. He got that. The third one couldn't attain to any of the stages, and he refused to be fed by the other two monks. He continued his practice and he passed away without attaining to the supramundane stages, and he was born in one of the heavens. This is how certain monastics who had discarded all the desires based on the secular life, taking extreme measures, went into the spiritual practice. We are not there yet, but still we can develop certain spiritual, psychological ability whenever we do something good. As I said before, when you do a dana, you always do that. Do for the nibbana. Between nibbana and this present life, whatever you deserve, whatever you are bound to get, you will get. Whether you aspire them or not, whether you expect them or not, whatever you are worthy of getting, you will get when you do your charity with the aspiration of nibbana. But when you do charity for the sake of achieving this and that secular goals, secular wealth, to be born in heaven, to be like this and that. You will get them also, but you won't attain Nibbana. You won't get the Nibbana. So the Nibbana must be the goal. Or destroying your attachment, defilements must be the spiritual background, mental background when you do something good. To destroy your attachment, you do dana. To get rid of your craving, you do dana. To wipe out your own attachments, you do dana. Then you are taking a step towards that Nibbana. Then that dana is your parami. That dana is a kusala, destruction for the bad, destruction for the defilements. So Karaniya, Buddha says, you should do, you ought to do. Since you know your own well-being, atta kusala, atta, own well-being, the procedure should be done, should be followed kusalena, with ability, with the capability. That kusala again can be explained. This procedure is to be done to destroy your own defilements. Defilements, greed, hatred, delusion, sala, destroy. Why we are trying to destroy these defilements? Because this destruction of the defilements is a supportive factor for us to receive, achieve, to reach yantang santang padang, if there is a state of serenity. That serenity is achieved with the destruction of defilements, with the destruction of the bad kusala. Yeah. So if somebody abhisangicca deeply long for that state of serenity, he should act according to the methodology to reach that state of serenity with the destruction of the defilements. So these two lines, Karaniya matta kusalena yantang santang padang abhisameccha, these two lines explain the process of this rest of the sutta. The rest of the sutta provides the facts, the Dhamma, which is supporting, helping for someone to destroy the bad, kusala, or to someone to achieve santang padang, the state of serenity. The rest of the sutta is supporting. So in the process of this Dhamma talk, we are explaining. In future weeks, in future Saturdays, we are explaining what type of Dhamma you have to adopt and you have to practice upon. You have to change with that practice to achieve that santang padang, that state of serenity, to destroy kusala, to destroy the defilements. The rest of the Dhamma talks will be on those facts of the Dhamma, which is helping what I explained in these two lines of the stanza. So there are 10 stanzas. These 10 stanzas divided into 3 categories: Sila, Samadhi, Panya. The disciplinary background or morality, Sila. Samadhi, the concentration. And then the Panya, wisdom. So this sutra, just because it is talking about or stressing about the metta as the core teaching, as the basic teaching, it doesn't mean this sutta is all about metta. This sutta can be taken as the spirituality of Buddhism. It represents the whole of the Buddha's teachings in brief. But so much of Dhamma is hidden there. We are trying to explain this Dhamma to you. Yeah. And this Dhamma will help you in one way to enjoy this Dhamma. Enjoying this Dhamma will help you to suppress greed, hatred, delusion temporarily and create wholesome thoughts in you. So, throughout this hour, we generated so much of wholesome thoughts in us by enjoying, by listening, by sharing this Dhamma. May these beautiful thoughts be shared by all our departed ones wherever they are, however they are now. If they are expecting, aspiring to be rejoiced, to be shared, our merits, may they be shared with all these merits. May their present existences become blissful, happy, and peaceful. May all our departed ones, our ancestors, our forefathers, be rejoiced with these beautiful thoughts, meritorious, wholesome thoughts we generated in our hearts during this hour. Let's share these merits together with our departed ones. Idamme ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. May all the devas, divine beings, be rejoiced with these merits. Akasatta ca bummatta deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu loka sasanang. Akasatta ca bummatta deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu desanang. Akasatta ca bummatta deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu desanang. Blessing for you. Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabba rogo vinassatu mate bhavatu antarayo sukhi degayuko bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.